Welcome to webinar number 5 in our series of 6 recordings. The goal of this video is to provide you with insights into the opportunities for transferability between oil and gas occupations and the high-tech sector. The information covered in this webinar can be found in the Energy Career Transition and Employment resource on careertransitions.ca. This webinar was made possible through funding provided by the Alberta Government to PetroLMI, a division of Energy Safety Canada. The resource has been developed to address the labour market inefficiencies created by the downturn in the oil and gas industry. It shares the results of our assessment of the transferability of skills, knowledge, and experience obtained in the oil and gas industry into employment in other sectors in the economy. Employers can use the resource to better understand how they can fill their hiring requirements with the skills and experience available in the pool of oil and gas talent. Job seekers and the career and employment practitioners that support them can use the resource to determine the best path to employment in another sector, including those that will be developed or emerge to support our transitioning energy ecosystem. I'd like to begin by providing some background on the evolution taking place within Canada's oil and gas industry and what it means for the emerging high-tech sector. The reason the energy industry is evolving is because it has to. Technology, and specifically horizontal drilling and hydraulic fracturing, has fundamentally changed the industry's ability to access oil and gas. So much so that in 2014, an abundance of supply triggered a rapid decline in oil prices. This structural shift in the supply-demand balance remains today. For Canada's industry, the unlocking of previously inaccessible oil and gas reserves by the United States meant our primary customer no longer needs as much of our resources. While global demand for oil and gas is growing, those markets are in developing countries, such as Asia, and our infrastructure has all been built to supply the U.S. Layered on top of the shifting supply-demand dynamics are some of the world's most robust stakeholder and Indigenous engagement processes, strict environmental regulations, and increasing expectations from investors to decarbonize. The combination of these factors is driving the need for Canada's industry to fundamentally change its business model in order to sustain. Leveraging the Internet of Things and technology solutions offered by Industry 4.0 is an important opportunity for industry to increase its competitiveness from both a cost and carbon perspective. These shifts are not unique to the oil and gas industry. We are also seeing them occur in the agriculture, mining, and chemical manufacturing sectors, just as examples. Engaging in new ways of doing business is driving new activities and expanding the energy industry's ecosystem and the skills, occupations, and service providers it requires. Activities are directly related to providing solutions to industry's key concerns of cost competitiveness and profitability. This includes increasing productivity while reducing cost, and this has an overall impact on the workforce. Decarbonizing and reducing its environmental footprint, enhancing company performance and creating and continuing to create value through environmental, social, and governance practices, expanding domestic and international markets and reducing the reliance on the U.S. as a customer, and finding ways to accelerate technological solutions wherever possible. The investment and activities described on the previous slide is driving emerging sectors such as clean tech, high tech, and the LNG export sector, as well as breathing new life into some of our more traditional sectors such as petrochemicals, industrial construction, and power generation. Well, the focus of this webinar is on the assessment of transferability between oil and gas and the high-tech sector. We would be remiss if we did not spend some time talking about the important role the oil and gas services sector will play in the evolving energy ecosystem. Going forward, the evolving energy industry is expected to continue to rely heavily on contracted service providers to drive cost, environmental, and safety performance. Oil and gas service companies have always played a significant role in the research, development, and implementations of solutions that lead to a more efficient, environmentally responsible, and safe industry. While the sector is currently struggling, we believe that once the oil and gas industry achieves some stability, it will be the service companies that will be called upon to apply their existing expertise and skills to traditional activities as well as emerging technologies and energy sources. We are starting to see this already within the geothermal energy, carbon capture usage and storage, and methane emissions reduction spaces. The oil and gas services sector hires the greatest number of jobs for traditional oil and gas activities. We believe it will continue to do so in the expanded ecosystem required to support an evolving industry. To learn more about the important role the oil and gas services sector will play, please watch our video entitled The Evolving Energy Ecosystem and its Impact on the Oil and Gas Services Sector. The energy, career transition, and employment resource highlights the transferability between oil and gas and core high-tech skills such as information technology, software development, digitization, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and cloud services. However, with the oil and gas industry increasingly looking to technological solutions to enhance cost and carbon competitiveness, it is safe to say that all occupations will be impacted by digitization in some way. The level of digital competency required will depend on the occupation. The resource offers links to tools that will help you assess your current level of digital competence and provide insights into how you can improve those that need upgraded. Gaining and enhancing your digital skills and knowledge is critical to building career resiliency. Despite the very technical nature of the oil and gas industry, we've assessed the transferability between pure high-tech or information communications technology occupations and oil and gas occupations to be low. The greatest opportunity for unemployed or underemployed oil and gas workers to gain employment in the high-tech ecosystem is to combine their oil and gas knowledge with high-tech skills. The methodology used to assess the transferability of workers from the oil and gas sector into another sector, such as high-tech, is based on 3 criteria. The first is technical transferability, which looks at the similarities between core qualifications, certifications, technical knowledge and skills, business processes, use of technology and equipment, the regulatory environment, the similarities between customers and stakeholders. The second criteria is nature of work, which looks at the similarities in work arrangements, workplace culture, relationships, and environments. And finally, the value proposition transferability criteria, which considers the likelihood of workers accepting an employment offer based on factors such as total compensation, location of work, career development opportunities, and values. For each of the criterias, transferability is rated as high, medium, or low, and is based on a sector-to-sector transferability level, recognizing that any individual worker will bring a unique set of skills that may enhance or detract from its ability to transition between sectors. For a more robust explanation of the sector transferability methodology used in the Energy Career Transition and Employment Resource, please watch the video in our series entitled How It Works, Sector and Occupation Transferability Methodology. Let's take a closer look at why we assess transferability between oil and gas and high tech as we do. Technical transferability between oil and gas and pure high tech is assessed as low due to the foundational skills and knowledge needed to fill roles such as software developer, software programmers, full stack developer, etc. In these cases, focus is on the development of software and hardware, as opposed to using computers and software in a highly technical work environment, which of course much of the oil and gas industry is. Nature of work transferability is also assessed as low, mainly because of the significant difference between the agile approach to work and higher risk tolerance found in the high-tech sector and what most oil and gas workers are used to in the oil and gas industry. Value proposition is also assessed as low. While senior, experienced, high-tech workers are paid very well, the entry-level positions transitioning workers are likely to fill are paid lower than the oil and gas industry. This is an assessment of sector-to-sector transferability, and again, personal experience and willingness to transition could change the assessment for any individual. We've assessed the transition between oil and gas and high tech that is working directly with the oil and gas industry as higher because of the opportunity for transitioning oil and gas workers to combine domain industry knowledge with high tech skills. Industry context is a king when building and offering high tech solutions. This means bringing oil and gas technical, processing and operations knowledge, understanding of regulatory and business environment is of value to the high-tech sector that is supporting oil and gas, but it isn't enough. Still needed is upgrading with programming, coding, data analytics, and visual skills and knowledge as examples. That doesn't mean taking a degree. There are a growing number of short-term training opportunities available for oil and gas workers to add this suite of skills to their repertoire. Nature of work transferability is not much different than what was discussed for pure high-tech. While there are high-tech employment opportunities within oil and gas companies, many more are likely to be found in smaller tech companies providing specialized services to the industry. Even the larger high-tech companies that we see partnering with the oil and gas industry, such as Microsoft and IBM, will expect an agile and flexible approach to work. Value proposition is higher because the combination of oil and gas domain knowledge and upgraded high-tech skills offers value to those companies that are providing services to the oil and gas industry. The specific high-tech occupations required by the oil and gas ecosystem will be driven by the phases and activities involved in the digitization of the industry. We've categorized these phases as design and build, digitize and visualize, automate and operate. We've assessed the occupational transferability across these three phases using three types: direct, refocus, and reboot. Transferability is considered direct if core qualifications, knowledge, and skills are essentially the same. Similarities related to nature of work and value proposition are also considered. Occupational transferability is considered a refocus if some skill and/or knowledge upgrading is required to qualify for a position in the new sector. Finally, transferability is considered a reboot if significant effort and/or resources are required to make a successful career transition. We've assessed that there is opportunity for oil and gas workers to transition into high-tech occupations within the evolving energy ecosystem, especially during the design and build phase, as it will involve engineers, technologists, and trades already doing similar work in the industry. These occupations will need to apply their industry skills and knowledge across a number of technologies. During the digitize and visualize phase, having a solid understanding of industry's processes, problems that need to be solved, the data required to help solve them, and an understanding of what insights are useful comes into play. Domain industry knowledge is helpful here, but it is a refocus as it requires skill development in the areas of programming, data analytics, etc. During the automate and operate phase, we see more opportunities in the refocus category as the use of technology changes how occupations will operate in the digitized environment, namely use of software, devices, data visualization to guide activities and decisions. All along the value chain, there are hardcore high-tech skills and occupations that we've assessed to be a reboot for most oil and gas occupations. This doesn't mean there aren't individuals that have more direct or refocused transferability. More about the occupational transferability and the foot in the door or minimal foundational requirements is identified in the resource. This information offers both job seekers and employers insights into the occupational qualification, skill, and knowledge similarities and differences between oil and gas and high tech. Understanding the activities that are more likely to result in an industry generating employment is an important consideration for a job seeker looking to transition into a different sector, and for the career and employment practitioner assisting them. Tracking activities that drive labor demand provides insights into the potential number and timing of job opportunities in a sector. The leading indicators of employment that we follow include investment announcements, government programs and/or other economic incentives for growth, changing regulations, and the demographics of an industry's workforce, as retirements may drive a number of job vacancies. Timelines for demand can be found in the resource and relate to a reasonable line of sight from a job seeker perspective. We'd like to offer some specific tips for monitoring high-tech trends and jobs. Key to generating high-tech jobs in the energy ecosystem is investment at the company level. Many companies offer insights into the technology investment they are making as part of their corporate guidance. They also make announcements around particular partnerships that they maybe have in place to accelerate technology implementation. Investment in new capital projects, including new infrastructure, is also something to monitor, as new projects will incorporate the most up-to-date technologies. The concrete examples of resources offered on the right-hand side of this slide are sources that we monitor to better understand trends and leading indicators of employment in high tech. They go beyond what you may read in mainstream media, and if you follow them in LinkedIn and sign up for their newsletters and updates, you can receive those regularly in your inbox. Worksica is a bit of a unique resource. It is Canadian, and beyond being able to use it to search for existing job posting, it also consolidates information from historical job postings on occupational, technical, and soft requirements that most often appear in job postings, as well as what companies have been hiring. Many of you may be familiar with a lot of these resources and read them regularly. Chances are they're not going to specifically tell you about employment requirements and/or occupations in demand. That's going to take some critical thinking. Some key questions you might ask yourself as you read about technologies are, how does this technology impact my area of expertise? How does this information impact employment in this sector? How might it impact employment for my occupation? And is there anything I need to do to stay current and/or improve my career resiliency? Canada's oil and gas workforce was profoundly impacted by the downturn that began in 2014 and will continue to be impacted as the industry undergoes structural shifts. It is highly unlikely that oil and gas workers that have had their careers disrupted during this time will return to working in the industry in the same way. This means that most of the job seekers in today's labor market will need to undergo some sort of training and or skill development to increase their employment opportunities. What we've heard is critical to high-tech employers is practical experience. While helpful, you don't necessarily need a job to gain practical experience in this space. Take advantage of open source data and meetup groups that provide an opportunity to apply coding and programming skills to solve problems. Employers appreciate the initiative to learn and stay current. High-tech employers are already reporting challenges finding the skills and qualifications they require. We encourage employers to learn more about sector and occupational transferability and the value of the oil and gas talent that is currently available. On this slide, we offer some suggestions job seekers and employers can take to better connect. Career and employment practitioners and trainers can play a valuable role in bridging the gap and addressing the labor market inefficiencies currently faced by our economy. The more we can increase the understanding of how the economy as a whole is transitioning and what that means for mid-career transitioners and job seekers, the better. Effective labor market transition will require short, flexible training that provides opportunities for career transitioners to gain skills and knowledge that complements and allows them to leverage their current area of expertise. Also, key to the transition into the high-tech sector is the ability to work within an agile culture. How can trainers design their programs to help develop skills and attitudes required to be comfortable with ambiguity and a certain level of risk? We hope you found this webinar informative. Others available include more in-depth information on our sector and occupational transferability methodology, a walk through the Starting With You exercises to explore career transition, an overview of the evolving energy ecosystem and how it impacts the oil and gas services sector and its workforce, and webinars that focus specifically on career transferability between oil and gas and clean tech and the heavy industrial construction and maintenance sectors. Our career transition work continues to be expanded, and we want to stay connected with you. Please follow us on our LinkedIn page, Talent Needs for the Evolving Energy Ecosystem. This is where we will communicate and promote workshops, webinars, and other information helpful for effective transition of the labor market. We ask job seekers to take our survey and help us educate employers about Alberta's untapped talent by sharing with us your skills and experience. And finally, stay in touch with us via our personal LinkedIn pages, Pat Huffnail-Smith and Cheryl Knight. We're happy to take questions and we'd love to hear your transition story.